for that very interesting suggestion, urging us to think harder about third-party mechanisms as a means of getting past some of these issues, whether the protocols come into force or not. I'll just say a couple words before opening it up, and that is that it is certainly a feature of international law that in many instances, two states seeking to give greater weight and greater certainty and greater definitiveness to their commitments will reach out for some form of third-party process, whether that's a conciliation or mediation or arbitration or even sending it to the International Court of Justice. Coming at this issue as a person who doesn't really study these Armenia-Turkey issues much, I'm struck that the protocols themselves, of course, do not contain such a mechanism. And so one would think that perhaps the governments have already thought a little bit about this and decided for whatever reason that they are inclined not to use that as a part of the solution. But I take it you're urging us to rethink that and consider whether or not, in fact, this would be a preferred route. There certainly are, as you say, examples worldwide, whether we're talking about demarcating a boundary or solving claims issues or doing a historical inquiry of one kind or another to determine what happened in the past. Plenty of examples of that happening, not always successfully. At the end of the day, you do get back to the political will on both sides when that sort of process is launched. And therefore it's not always effective, but it is a route that can be pursued and in many instances has succeeded in allowing two parties to get past a problem point that they had that they otherwise could not get past. So I think with that I will open it up and ask you to identify yourself. And certainly make the comments you wish, but relatively briefly to give whoever's responding a chance to respond. And perhaps we'll take 2 or 3 comments collectively and then return to the panel. So here in front.
Thank you very much, Berkan Pazarcı from the Turkish Embassy. It was very interesting. I was not expecting actually it is the first time I hear something really a proposal to overcome the deadlock that is now created after the Constitutional Court's decision of Armenia. You said when you started to your presentation, you said that you were going to make rather judicial, legal assessment of the issue, but I think it was not very legalistic. You have inserted a lot of comments that are actually political. For instance, I don't see why we have such a map behind you, which has nothing to do with the legal aspect of what we are talking about. You also said that you absolutely recognize the events of 1915 as a genocide, which can be your, of course, own opinion, but this is not really how I think legally we approach the issue. And thirdly, I think we could have also a Turkish expert on the matter here today so that we could represent a little bit more objectively also the Turkish point of view. I came here, I just learned about the event by chance, and I think in a university like this, in order to be more objective and scientific, we need to have both sides of, learn the both sides of the coin. But let me just make, I'm not a lawyer by formation, but I would like to comment or raise some questions regarding your proposals, a proposal on the creation of an arbitration commission. It is the following. by law, by international law, genocide is an individual crime. So how would you expect Turkey, which didn't exist in 1915, to be part of such a commission or arbitration process? That's why actually the owning the government of Armenia probably, and it's going to be very, very difficult to overcome this situation. Therefore, if we can move on, and if we can move forward, and if we can create this commission, what will happen is to invite also the third parties that are interested, like the diaspora. It can be American scholars or whatever. But we will ask the Armenian side to open all the archives as well, because we did so. And as long as the Armenian archives are closed, we have good reasons to believe that there is something to hide there.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
please open the archives, let's create the Historians Commission and make a more objective study of what happened during that time.
Okay, thank you very much. Take maybe two more comments and then we'll respond. Yeah.
Thank you. Voice of America, Arsen Kessedjian. Thank you very much for definitely an electrifying presentation. Very unusual to hear a progressive Armenian opinion on this issue, especially in a power city like Washington. But I would like to actually go ask you about the specifics of possible legal mechanisms that you mentioned. Also considering that, well, international law has been raped during the last couple of decades by the major empires, such as the United States, and considering courts like International Court of Justice, a court where the United States and other countries are not members of, how specifically, or what do you suggest to the Armenian public or the doubters of the process, whether it's international or open, on the legal area, where everything is going to go pretty much as we can consider to come to justice? In other words, to make it more simple, what specific mechanisms do you suggest? Where arbitration? Where? Which courts? Which countries are getting involved? Because as you suggested, a very important thing, you hope for the next 5 years to have a much bigger progress on the process. I mean, that's a pretty short period of time, even for the confidence building for the publics of the countries to even get to the point where they can sit around one table and talk about this. But give us a couple of examples, if you have them, of other reconciliation and troublesome issues and countries which succeeded in the international law, within the international law institutions, whether it's in the European Union, within the European Union, or whether it's in the US, whatever, but to also make it more tangible for the sides to understand or to have examples on what outcomes they can have. As you fairly mentioned, we may lose when it comes to the justice and when it comes to the international law or whatever. So if you could give us some specific examples of how other nations and countries were able to come to kind of a reconciliation or to some kind of solutions, whether by peaceful or non-peaceful means, that would be very helpful.
I'm not going to speak about the non-peaceful.
Let's just take one more comment.